From WBBZ-TV Sports, it's time to beat the champ. Now, here are your hosts, Paul Peck and Sue Novoitsky.
Well, hi, everybody, and welcome to Beat the Champ with Janelle Saban and Hall of Fame bowler Sue Novoitsky. My name is Paul Peck. Week 3 here at the Rapids Bowling Center. First week, we saw Jeremy Zimmerman get a couple of more wins and then lose. Week 2, we saw Mike Zarcone rattle off 3 straight wins. So we get a little feel for everything when this show comes, particularly here to Niagara Falls.
Right. Well, we knew it was a big question mark. We knew we had different lane conditions, and we knew we had a great lineup of bowlers. So it really had to play out, and now Mike's in that seat to see if he can get a long streak going.
Yeah, and more good challengers coming up today. We've got Joe Pullman, we've got the always impressive bowling of Mike Kemp, along with newcomer, but a guy who knows this place very, very well, and Jake Wisor. So Zarcone's going to get pushed, as he usually is.
That's right. Just another cast of characters that all have their own stories, that all want that limelight.
Yeah.
So they're going to try to get it.
We like casts of characters, don't we?
Don't we? And we'll see more of that too next month when we go to Mulway.
Yes, we owe, that's right. Speaking of casts of characters, there are none more than the gang over at Island Lanes. That's 2 weeks from today. But first, another week of competition from the Rapids Bowling Center. So let's get rolling.
I'm here with Joe Pullman, second Pullman of the day. First competitor today on today's show. I know you're disappointed that you can't meet your brother today, but I'm sure the intensity will stay the same. What's your approach today?
Well, today I'm just going to try to throw a lot of strikes, stay around the head pin today, and try to keep up with Mike if I can.
Did you find that the modified house shot played different than what you're used to seeing?
Yeah, much more challenging. You got to be much more direct, much more exact with your shots. Keep your feet balanced, keep your balance and all that. So hopefully I have that today.
All right. Well, good luck to you.
Thank you.
It's Sarcone, winner of 3 matches in a row against Joe Pullman to get us started off here in week number 3 at the Rapids Bowling Center. Sarcone has already beaten one member of the Pullman family. That came last week when he knocked off Joe's brother Jeff in the second of his 3 consecutive matches. So Mike Zarcone going for an all Pullman family sweep here today, and Joe will have something to say about that, and so does that first throw for Mike Zarcone.
Yeah, had to get the cobwebs out. That one got inside of his target. I'm sure he didn't like that one off his hand, but he'll take his 2 and put it away. 18th show appearance here for Mike Zarcone on Beat the Champ. No one has appeared on more shows than Mike Zarcone has. And right now, with 15 wins, only Jeremy Zimmerman has won as much as Mike Zarcone has. So it's an open in the first for Mike Zarcone, and now we move things over to Joe Pullman, making his 6th Beat the Champ show appearance, a record of 3 wins and 4 losses. Last time we saw Joe was a couple of months ago up at Alley Brandt Lanes in Lockport when he lost to Dave Tolkaz. But Joe Pullman always with a place in Beat the Champ history, particularly here because our very first show was here at the Rapids Bowling Center back at the beginning of 2016, and the first weekly winner of that show, that's right,
Joe Pullman.
And both these guys, Mike and Joe, are great supporters of Beat the Champ, and we see them a lot because they come and they try out a lot and they compete and they bowl the squads, and that's the only way to make it to the television show is to show up and bowl the qualifier. So, thanks to them for, being great supporters of the show.
That was a little close. It's a spare for Joe Pullman, but that was a little too close for comfort, wasn't it?
It was.
Joe Pullman is 47 years old. He is from East Amherst. His occupation is as a teacher in the Clarence School District. He is also the girls bowling coach for Clarence High School, where they've won back-to-back division championships, gearing up to make that a three-peat this year. Nice strike for Joe.
Yeah, this lane 3 still being a little tighter down the lane forces people to make mistakes,
So give everybody a little overview, if they haven't been watching the last 2 weeks, of what the challenge of the oil condition is here, because it's pretty challenging. It's been challenging.
Yeah, and as we've been taping shows, and this is the 3rd show, the breakdown is going to be, you know, anybody's guessing because they started out different. They're going to continue to break down different. You know, there's no way these lanes are going to catch up to each other. So someone like Mike, who's been bowling on the shot, you know, for a good part of the day, will almost, I hate to say have an advantage, but I mean, at least he knows what he's looking at on the lanes and what the changes have been. It seems like no matter what, lane 3 throughout the day is still going to be tighter down the lane than lane 4. So that's going to make them have to keep the ball in, not loop it as much to the right.
Ooh, not what Mike wanted, a 7-10 split. It was enough of a wobble on the 10 pin that you thought he was going to get a lucky break and not have to worry about it, but it held up. So now we turn to some shot making here, and it's certainly a long shot making anyway.
Well, this tells me that Mike's shot isn't quite as good as it was, because he got that one in a bit, but he was deep enough on the lane that, you know, I thought it would hold up, and I'm sure he thought it would hold up too. So I'm guessing he's walking away really having to think about what just happened there on that lane.
That's 2 opens in the first 3 frames, sandwiched by a strike for Mike Zarcone.
Right,
so,
both on that lane 3.
So again, a little unusual, and now that's an opportunity for Joe Pullman. And that was a bit of an odd hit there as well too, that leaves the, what is that, the 1 and the 10? It is, isn't
yeah.
it? Or the 1, yeah.
Yeah, and that's
a bit a little unusual.
Yeah, that's just a product of pins falling down, just some pin collision there. Obviously, that's not a normal lead. But missing the head pin to the right, because the ball just sat in that oil. I mean, this condition has gotten strippy, and if you stay to the right, it's going to be risky, because there's some strips of oil over there that, like Joe just hit it, you want to stay away from.
Oh, and he missed them both.
This feels like a good time to take a short break. We'll be right back with more action on Beat the Champ. Welcome back to Beat the Champ. Let's get back to the action here on WBBZ-TV.
There's another little tricky. That another 110?
No, that's
No,
a
it's a
210.
210. Equally as unusual, if not more difficult.
Now I'm really surprised, because the last shot when he 2-pinned, he used the other ball, and it seemed to me like an adjustment off that ball would have been good, but he didn't. He went back to that original ball. So
there's an open. That was an heck of an effort by Mike Zarcone. He got the pin action he wanted to. It just didn't bounce the right way. So that's a 3rd open in the match for Mike Zarcone. And talk about a real opportunity for Joe Pullman, working 2 strikes in a row. Looking for a triple.
good shot there too.
Got it. Late fall, but he got it.
Well, he was right where he needed to be. His ball speed was definitely a bit firm, which is why the ball didn't roll up, but he got great pin action there and caught a break, because he never touched the head pin.
That doesn't normally happen, does it?
No, but it does, obviously.
Don't forget, qualifying is going to be, we still have some qualifying left to go here at Island Lanes for next month's Beat the Champ. And don't forget, the top qualifier in the round of 24 wins a television valued at $500 from Dirt Cheap TV.
Got that one in.
Yep. And that's a difficult challenge for Joe now here in frame 8. Guys are making it hard on themselves, aren't they?
Yeah, they didn't break down real pretty. So that's, like he said in our interview, that he was going to have to make good shots, that he knew that there wasn't a lot of margin for error, and he is not wrong.
Let's see what Joe does with this one. He'll get 2 of the 3, so that's an open now for Joe in the 8th frame. Boy, 5 opens in the match is unusual with 2 really great bowlers like these guys.
Yeah, but most of these have been splits, so you know, it's not so much that they've been missing their spares, but they're just leaving formations when they come light, come high, fishing around for that sweet spot.
8th frame, 9 pins. Mike Zarcone looking for his 4th win in a row. He already has a 6-match winning streak here on Beat the Champ. That came at Grand Islands, Island Lanes, back in 2016, which is where we'll be next month.
Mike's in a must strike situation here. Those 3 strikes in a row for Joe really put him in the driver's seat.
So 9th frame now for Mike Zarcone, and Sue has laid out pretty much what Mike needs to do. Not going to get it. Thought that pin was going to fly over and take it out. It did not happen.
No, Mike's going to be a little disappointed in this match right here. But, you know, nobody's going to shoot a very high score. I mean, these lanes are challenging right now.
It's been that way kind of all day, but even a little more so in this match. And some of our scores were low back in the first show. Jeremy Zimmerman was able to win a couple of matches by shooting in the 180s. You know, and then Mike sort of raised the game a little bit, starting to get into the 220s and 230s. But it's been a challenge almost all day. And, you know, again, that's part of what makes this show great and what makes these bowlers so great is that we push these guys a little bit to the limit and see what they're made of.
Yeah, it might be a good time to be a left-hander. I don't know that we have any. Our next bowler is definitely not a left-hander.
Nope.
So.
I don't think we have any left on this week's show. So a 9th frame spare opportunity here for Joe Pullman, in control of the match.
Spare here will be a win for him.
And there you go. It's a winning spare for Joe Pullman. There's your look at the Castellone Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram scoreboard as we head to break. Match 2 coming up from the Rapids Bowling Center right after this. Final score of this one, 201 to 159. Joe Pullman with the win over Mike Zarcone. The lanes really changed on you, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. They dried up on me. I didn't expect it, but Joe bowled fairly decent, so he deserves to win.
That stretch of his 3 consecutive strikes in the middle, that would key to the match?
Right, that was the killer, right? Because I couldn't strike, so yep, that was the key for his win.
All right, Pat, did you do something to the lanes here during the lunch break?
I didn't do anything to the lanes, but I thought Mike had it figured out in practice, but you know, we live to see another day, I guess.
Yeah, well, particularly with this guy, he's as much a regular as anybody, so make him feel a little bit better, will you?
All right. That's for yours, Mike. Thank you so much. We'll see you again soon.
All right, we know we will. Mike Zarcone with another nice little run here, 3 in a row before it comes to an end. Next up, it's Joe Pullman and Mike Kemp. That's match number 2 coming up next.
I'm here with Mike Kemp. Mike, we saw you last month here. Results not so good. Got a little revenge on your mind?
Yeah, I mean, I won't be facing the same person, but you know, it was a little disappointing last month. So I'm looking to get back out here and hopefully get back in the win column.
So what's your mindset when you come to qualifying and you know that you really want to get back on there because you really, you know, didn't accomplish what you wanted to accomplish the month before, and then you just go ahead and make the show? What are you thinking?
Honestly, for me, I try not to think about it at all and just, you know, do my own thing. And I mean, the more I think about things, the worse it gets. So.
Well, you make it look so easy because we have this conversation, you know, once a month. So obviously you're doing something right, and you do make it look easy. So good luck today.
All right, thank you.
All right.
Well, we always seem to be talking about winning streaks here on Beat the Champ. So Joe Pullman will go for starting a streak of his own for a 2nd consecutive win against a guy who is an experienced streaker here on Beat the Champ, and that would be Mike Kemp. He's the challenger. He already has 5 and 4 match winning streaks previously on the show, and he is one of the top bowlers on Beat the Champ, and this should be a terrific match between he and Joe. And much like we saw in the last match, the pins are not cooperating.
And you know, I just watched them warm up, and both of them were pretty lined up in warm-ups, but they're playing so direct to the pocket that just the slightest little miss in is going to create a disastrous lead, because you're going to hit the head pin straight on.
Yeah, so much like Mike Zarcone did in the first match, an open frame to start with for Mike Kemp.
Yeah.
Mike Kemp making his 10th appearance here on the show. Joe Pullman now evening his overall record at 4 wins and 4 losses. This is Joe's 6th appearance here on the show. Coming off the win over Zarcone, 201 to 159. First frame for him. A little more cooperative, but not all that much.
Pretty much almost the same thing, where they got it in just a little bit. Like I said, both of them were pretty lined up in practice, but there is very little margin for error. They got to keep their eyes really down the lane and close to the 4th arrow, which is a really odd place to play straight.
Right.
So,
you know, before we taped the interview in the last segment with Mike Zarcone, we talked about, boy, the lanes really changed. And, you know, that may sound funny, at least it does to me as a bit of a novice, to say, well, what do you mean? We bowled on them an hour ago. What has changed? But Mike said the lights can have something to do with it. Just as the day goes on, the extra 10 frames that they see. But so when you talk about the lane conditions changing, is that what we're talking about?
Yeah, there's just so many factors. I mean, besides the fact where these guys have, you saw that sanded ball that Dave Zizek used, that's going to suck up the oil, and it's going to absorb it into the bowling ball, and that's going to move it around, and then anything that's pearlized is going to splash it. So you've got that, and then you've got the environmental that he mentioned. As the lanes sit, they automatically start to, evaporate, and it's broken down pretty ugly.
So what these guys may have been expecting 2 hours ago if they were warming up, or even if they were in a winning match 2 hours ago is very much different now. And there's the Mike Kemp that we are used to seeing, who powers his way through the pins there with his first strike of the match. 33 years old from Cheektowaga is Mike Kemp, an analyst at M&T Bank, and as I mentioned, he's had a lot of success on this show. 9 wins overall versus 7 losses. Last time we saw him was last month at Classic Lanes when he was one of Jeremy Zimmerman's victims.
And yeah, he made mention that.
Oh, look at that one pin shake left to right.
Yeah, he was very disappointed in how that ended. I believe that was one of the matches where it kind of looked like he had it in hand.
He needed a 1 pin spare, and he missed it. I don't know that he's ever done that before, nor will he ever do that again.
That was part of the whole Jeremy Zimmerman mystique,
It was totally the mystique. That was the mystique moment for Jeremy Zimmerman, which is he was about to lose to a great bowler. All Mike Kemp needs is to finish a spare with a single pin, and it slid to the right and missed. So strike spare to start with here for Joe Pullman. Frame 3. Just a little right on the miss of the pocket, and that's why you're staring at a 1-2-10.
Yep, that's the thing. There's no margin for error. You got that a little bit right with that ball speed. It's going to spray right through, because he's got to throw it hard so it doesn't take off on him. So he knows he's got so little margin for error.
There's more oil at the end of the lanes than we normally have, right? We've talked about this in our first show based on the oil pattern condition. So is that coming into play more now, with that you're not either getting or not getting that last minute little turn?
Well,
oh boy, that one pin circled around the top of the 10 pin.
Yeah, that's a bad break when that happens. But more so on lane 3 than on lane 4. There's been more carry down, but I think that the even flat pattern has just it'll start to break down closer. So, like, mid lane is now broken down. So it's not just about figuring out the back end of the lane. Now you've got to figure out the middle of the lane too. So you don't want it to hook too early. And this is a bowler's challenge right here, because there's no part of the lane that isn't an obstacle at this point.
Good response by Joe Pullman with a nice strike in the 4th frame. So back over to the 4th now for Mike Kemp. Bowls regularly in the Thursday night league at Transit Lanes. Overall 230 average for Mike Kemp, and as we've seen on the show, he is one of the most studious and serious of our bowlers. Well, that'll all change for him very soon because he and his wife are expecting a child and going to have a baby girl here any day. So life will change, and you know, maybe Mike won't be quite as studious and serious.
I'll be tired.
That may have something to do with it as well, too. So we congratulate Mike and his wife and wish them the best of luck.
We're going to be back with more Beat the Champ bowling action in just a minute. Welcome back to Beat the Champ. Let's get back to the action here on WBBZ-TV.
Just couldn't get the 10 pin to go down.
Man, but you can see it off their hands. Like he gets underneath it and he has to get it up out onto the lane. That when he got around it, going a little bit left on the lane, and nope, not gonna work on this. There's no hold. Good spare.
5th frame spare. So Mike Kemp has gone open, strike, and 3 straight spares in the first 5. And now Joe Pullman. Spare, strike, open, strike. So we're all over the place here a little bit, and it's been that way, you know, with our last match where Joe beat Mike Zarcone with a 201. The Rapids Bowling Center, lanes 3 and 4 are pushing these guys and testing them. Boy, that looked like a good, perfectly positioned, just didn't get enough luck to get the 4 pin to go.
Yeah, it came up a little high flush, but that could have struck. And that's what this is a matter of. You got to be so perfect. He got a little loft on that one to try to, you know, get it out in the lane a little bit more, negate the front of the lane. This is one of those true situations where you're going to break the lane down into 3 different sections: the heads, the middle, and the back end.
Spare in the 5th frame for Joe Pullman. All right, so expand on that a little bit. You know, the different parts of the lane, how do you react to it? If you're successful enough to break down what each part is doing, what's the response?
Well, that's just it. He's got it. You're going to have a ball. This is when equipment comes into play, and these guys just don't have the ability to walk into the pro shop and drill up a bowling ball in this lane condition. They're going to have to try to do it with their hands and their eyes, and just do the best that they can. Where, you know, the guys on TV, the pro bowlers, may see this shot, but they also can drill up a ball to adjust to it. So you're going to need surface to get through the front. You're going to need a ball that picks up in the middle of the lane to get through the mid lane, and then you want to kind of stop. And in a perfect world, you'll drill that bowling ball up, but these guys are going to bring 16 bowling balls with them, wait and see what happens.
And it more amazes me that there actually are balls that do each of those different things at different parts of the lane.
You utilize surface, and you can change the surface of any of these bowling balls. I mean, you saw that sanded one, that urethane ball that David
Zajac,
yeah, he had it sanded down. You can do that to the surface of it and make that grab earlier. So you can take any bowling ball and truly drill it to do what you want and manipulate the surface. But you know, they're never going to see a shot like this in league, so most of us don't have bowling balls to adjust to this with.
Right. How unusual
that was a
or
great
rare
shot right there.
Is a pattern like this, like you said? I mean, some of the high-level guys in Buffalo that bowl beyond the city see it on regional tours and things like that. But in general, how rare is it to see this challenging of a lane condition?
You won't. You probably won't see this. This middle-of-the-road pattern, they probably wouldn't lay out for league, but they would lay it out for a tournament. So you may see it in a tournament, but you're not going to see the amount of games. I mean, this is a unique situation where you have people throwing it different. You have a lot of play edges, this pair. They started out different, where you'd cross lanes in a tournament, so you would only, you would get this variation not in every pair you went to.
A little bit of a miss hit there, leaves a couple of pins. So should the bowling centers around Western New York use patterns like this more often?
Well,
we've talked an awful lot about the debate of high scores make people happy, make them want to come back. I get that. but should something beyond house patterns be more prevalent to get guys to a higher level?
No.
Okay.
I mean, the bowling centers would go out of business because nobody'd be having any fun. You know, because part of your league night is going out, hanging out with your friends. It's a social. It's a social night out. You know, the league bowlers that are supporting the bowling centers don't bowl on this level. Now, in a classic league, or for people who have determined that they want to be that type of bowler, then yes, you know, in the classic leagues, they should at least, you know, give them a pattern like this. For
well, are the higher level travel related leagues around Western New York, are they a little more willing to throw patterns like this at those guys? Because now you're beyond just the average folks that are coming out to have fun and bowl and score high. You're into a little more of the guys that are serious about it. So do they or should they? Here's a reaction from Joe Pullman on a second consecutive strike.
Well, I'm in a tough situation here to answer that question. I'm going to say that the bowlers probably don't want that.
Don't want it.
I mean, you'll have a select few, but you're going to have the same 10 people competing against each other in every tournament.
Okay.
And those guys that do enjoy this challenge, they get out on the weekends and go to weekend tournaments and they go compete.
They're seeking those out, is what you're saying.
Yeah, because no matter. I mean, there's a lot of great bowlers in this area, and we see a lot of them come to this show, but they still have full-time jobs. They still have families. They still have responsibilities. And to compete at this level on this type of lane condition on a regular basis, you have to put more time and effort into it. I mean,
big miss there for Mike Kemp. Needed that single pin, 10 pin for the spare, and he doesn't get it. That's a crucial open in the 8th frame, particularly with Joe on a double right now.
It's true.
So I see your point, you know, and that's very interesting to hear you explain it that way, that even though this is a great bowling town and we have some of the best bowlers in the world here, it's by nature of its sport. It's not a full-time sport, and guys still want to go out and have fun. And while there are, you know, however numbers you want to put on it, 10, 15, 20 guys that are at such a high level that compete regionally that would say, hey, bring it on, bring me the brick wall, concrete wall lane conditions that I have to figure out. That's not everybody.
Right, and it just to be great at anything, you have to put time into it. I mean, any great athlete doesn't just come out once a week and do it. They have to work at it, and practice at it, and prepare themselves. And this is an expensive sport to do this because you need multiple forms of equipment. There's no way you're going to be able to drill up 2-3 bowling balls and compete on that level. You're going to have 12, 15 bowling balls, and now all of a sudden at $250 a pop, it becomes very expensive in a sport where there's really not a lot of money to be made. So I guess it's kind of put itself in that position to keep the lane conditions a bit softer.
It's 3 in a row for Joe Pullman as he has taken control of this match with 3 outstanding frames, strikes, and there's 4 in a row. And Joe Pullman, and you saw some of his emotion and reaction there. He is in a groove right now. Joe Pullman gets a 212 to 158 win over Mike Kemp. The lane conditions have been tricky. They were tricky for you. That single pin spare late in the match, another big moment in this one. How hard has it been to get a feel for what's going on out there?
Yeah, I mean, I think mentally it's just been challenging to stay focused and staying consistent, which has been my biggest problem, for sure.
Well, you've got a few other things on your mind, so we'll cut you some slack on that. From everybody here, congratulations on the impending birth, if it hasn't already happened, of your second child. So congratulations to you and your wife.
Thank you.
All right, so Mike Kemp's got a few other things other than bowling on his mind, but he's going to need some diapers, I think, Pat.
I think I can help him out there for just a few. So, Mike, congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, so a tough one for Mike Kemp, but Joe Pullman goes for 3 in a row. That's when we come back to the Rapids Bowling Center in Niagara Falls. You are watching Beat the Champ.
I'm with Jake Wisor on Beat the Champ, and this has been a month of faces that we've seen on a regular basis and interviews that I've had week after week. You're new. Tell us a little bit about you.
I've been bowling for all my life. I started when I was 4, so I'm 24 now. It's about 20 years of bowling. These guys are all great bowlers, so anytime you get to compete with them, it's a lot of fun.
Was that your first Beat the Champ qualifier?
I've bowled in all the qualifiers here. I made it to the top 24, and I've been just outside of the cut for TV each time. So this time I finally made it in by a little bit. So.
Any nerves today?
No, I've bowled in high pressure stuff before in college and high school bowling. So just here to have fun.
Well, you look like a pretty cool customer, so I think it's going to go good for you today.
Thank you very much.
Joe Pullman goes for 3 wins in a row against the guy who has just about the best home center advantage that anybody could have. It is Rapids Bowling Center manager Jake Wisor. Now, he earned his way into this show by the way he bowled, but if anybody knows the nuances of the Rapids Bowling Center lanes 3 and 4, it is this guy, Jake Wisor.
Does it say bowling manager?
Apparently he doesn't know them all that well.
Bowling manager / lane man? Does it say that? No.
Apparently if there are some secrets, they have not all been revealed to him yet, because he leaves himself with a little difficult split in the first frame. That's not what Jake wanted. So it's an open in the first. That's now the 3rd consecutive match we've had an open in the first.
I was going to say, I don't know if there's some strategy for Joe going on here, but it seems like that first ball out of the gate tends to go through the nose.
His opponent, that's now the 3rd match in a row that his opponent has had an open frame in the first. So let's see if Joe can keep this run going now. 5 wins and 4 losses, the overall record now for Joe.
Good shot.
There it is. Nice way to get things started. You know, Joe's got to make sure that the members of his Clarence girls bowling team see him on TV, and he doesn't provide them any material to come come give the coach a little smart aleck response.
Make no mistake, there's been a little brotherly banter going on here when you haven't been paying attention to.
Because I'm too busy trying to run the show here. You've been listening to the Pullman boys yelling at each other.
I was hoping I wasn't going to have to jump in between them.
Do we need to? Do mom and dad need to break this up? Do Joe and Sandy need to get in between them again? Do we have to turn this bowling center around?
You never know.
All right, so right when we were thinking that Joe had everything all figured out, there he goes and leaves the same split that Jake did.
Maybe it's just lane 3. Maybe it's not who starts.
Maybe, no, you're right. All right, well, so all that talk about opens maybe got Joe thinking about it, right? All right, so now back to Jake, who is 24 years old, from Niagara Falls, and as we mentioned, the bowling center manager here at the Rapids Bowling Center. And you can always tell when you see that number of years bowling, and then you subtract the age, you know somebody who's been hanging around here an awful lot. He's been bowling since he's 4 years old.
I think part of his bowling manager responsibilities is bowling in league, because it looks like he's bowling an awful lot of leagues here.
Yep. In the Sanborn Businessman's League on Tuesdays here, the Accurate Alignment Wednesday League here, and the Lou Mercantonio Memorial League on Fridays here as well, too. He needs to be here anyway. He might as well be bowling in the league. So we get the strike out of Jake there. So each guy has gone strike open in the first 2 frames.
Great shot.
And there's Jake with a great 3rd frame strike. So Joe Pullman beat Mike Zarcone in our first match, 201 to 159. Then we're just coming off the victory over Mike Kemp, 212 to 158. So the 47-year-old from East Amherst looking for 3 in a row. And now the guys are finding their groove.
Very nice.
And they both had 2 strikes and an open through the first 3 frames.
Yep, this is lane 3. I mean, Jake came up on lane 3, threw a good shot, finessed it a little bit. So where Joe's trying to overpower the lane, throw it as hard as he can, Jake's finessing it a little bit, and we'll just see how that plays out. At the end of the day, they're going to be playing around the same spot anyways. Good shot. Ooh, it's snapping up a little bit in the back.
That same split again.
Well, we were talking about how lane 3 looked like it seemed like it was tighter down the lane for everybody. That was what the bowlers were reporting as they would come up here, but now it doesn't look like it. It looks like that's been broken down.
Well, we haven't seen anybody make this split yet.
That's a tough one.
So now, again, a bit of an odd scorecard already. Joe Pullman's gone strike, open, strike, open. And let's see if Jake can take advantage. 2015 New York State Scratch Singles leader with an 825, and the Niagara County Scratch Doubles record with Nate Johnson of a 1574.
Wow.
15 career 300 games for Jake. And an 835 high series. He's already got the best beard we've seen on Beat the Champ. Right? You think you give me the vote on that one?
Yeah, I can't
Pretty
picture
good.
any other beard like that one.
No, neither can I.
Good spare.
The action will continue on Beat the Champ in just a minute. Welcome back to Beat the Champ.
And Jake Wisor back to work now.
Great
Nice,
shot.
one of his nicest shots. Strike in the 8th for Jake Wisor. There's Janelle Sabin keeping you up to date on the Castellone Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram scoreboard.
No, I'm still waiting for one of these guys to move in more on lane 3.
Didn't like it as soon as he threw it because he knew he was not going to get the break that far right.
Yeah, he hit the part of the lane, the OB that has oil on it. So I'm still trying to figure out why nobody's going left of that. I just want to see one shot over there so I can get a read on it.
So spare opportunity for Jake in the 8th frame. Make it the 9th frame here.
The good news for Jake is he's done on this lane.
Got it. Spare in the 9th for Jake Wisor and a fond farewell to the 3rd frame. Never to be seen again, except for him every day of his life, pretty much.
This is where the strategy matters, and you know, Joe didn't want to change what was working for him, which is letting the other person go first. But in this case, lane 3 is broken down so nasty that it may be a disadvantage to have to finish on that lane.
So now 9th frame for Joe on lane 4. Nice
Great
strike,
shot.
big strike.
So now where we are is Joe needs to double on this lane to shut out Jake on a lane that everybody's struggling on. So
Not the position you want to be in.
No, not the ideal situation because Jake has a better shot on lane 4 than he has on lane 3, which is where he gets to finish.
So a double for Joe Pullman.
And good count would be a win.
And good count is a win. Let's see if he can meet that challenge.
Good shot.
Got it.
That's what I wanted to see. I wanted to see somebody move in, and he did, finally.
So one more strike and then good count will win this for Joe and complete a weekly sweep and send him advancing to Island Lanes next month. Yeah, didn't like it. Boy, almost got what he wanted. But right off his hand, it wasn't exactly perfect.
No, he got that. He got that definitely left the target. But what he has created is a situation where he's forcing Jake to double.
Final throw for Joe Pullman. Got the spare. And he got a final score of 170.
So,
might be enough.
Right, so strike spare or spare strike is not enough. It has to be 2 strikes here for Jake to pull this one out.
So can the guy who works here and runs the Rapids Bowling Center come up with a win at the Rapids Bowling Center? Got one of them.
I think he had somebody from the back kick that 10 pin up.
Somebody rattled it around a little bit back there to get that 10 pin to fall. All right, so now he needs another one here.
He needs a strike and 5 pins.
Won't get it. Never got that one. I got it a little too right, never hooked back over, and it's going to be a victory for Joe Pullman. So, again, boy, guys were really pushed and really challenged this week, and Joe Pullman was the guy that mastered it a little better than everybody else. And I don't know that he would say he mastered it, but he was able to figure it out a little better than everybody else. And even though his scores will be 201, 212, and 170, they were all enough to win.
I think he's going to be relieved to see Island Lanes in 2 weeks.
Right. 170 to 166. It's the win for Joe Pullman to complete the weekly sweep for him. We'll talk to Joe, we'll talk to Jake, and we will wrap up this week's stay at the Rapids Bowling Center when Sue and I return on Beat the Champ. Well, Jake, even the home lane advantage wasn't enough for you. As much as you know these lanes and know this place, it doesn't always guarantee that it's going to do what it's supposed to.
Oh, yeah, I threw a lot of bad shots, and Joe's a great bowler, so he definitely put me to the test.
How much of a challenge was this? I mean, you bowl here more than anybody does. How much of a challenge, particularly lane 3?
Oh, yeah, 3 was definitely a challenge. We've been hearing about it for the last few weeks, and it definitely came true.
Yeah, well, it did. It was a heck of a match that came right down to the end, and another win for Joe.
Great win out there, Joe, and we've seen a lot in the sport of bowling, a lot of house shots, but this actually looked like work. Was it work out there?
Yeah, it was a lot of work. Lane 3 was probably as challenging as anything I've bowled on in a long time. I mean, I was just hoping to stay clean the rest of the match after the second frame.
So knowing you had to get up on lane 3 and throw that first strike,
yeah,
what was your strategy?
You know, I really moved way left, and I really just wanted to I knew I needed that first one to put pressure on, and it was probably my best shot of the match.
And it was that. So good luck then going forward.
All right, so it's 3 in a row for Joe Pullman. Pat, give a little cash out to these guys.
A little love for you. So. Congratulations, and look forward to seeing you next week.
Right, and you see him all the time.
I see him all the time, and I'll see him again soon. So, all right.
All right, there you go. Great match, great way to wrap up week 3 here at the Rapids Bowling Center. Sue and I come back, and we'll start to preview next week's fun show, and in 2 weeks from now at Island Lanes. We'll do that when Beat the Champ returns to Niagara Falls right after this. Well, Sue, each week we were talking about winning streaks here at the Rapids Bowling Center. Jeremy Zimmerman's continuing and then coming to an end after a record 14 in a row. Then Mike Zarcone winning a bunch in a row, and now Joe Pullman winning a bunch in a row. It just tells you how great these guys are, and when these guys get locked in, they're tough to beat.
You know, that's really how Beat the Champ began, you know. I mean, it's like a throwback to the original show when everybody talks about Angelo and his winning streak. So this show has always been about creating a champ that people can get behind. So here we go again. We'll see if Joe Pullman can do it.
He's the latest guy to get behind. 3 wins in a row. 2 weeks from now, he'll be back in action at Malwitz's Island Lanes. When you get streaks like that, you don't ever have to erase those names off the side of the board.
Exactly, and a lot of these guys even have the same names, Mike and Mike, and Joe and John, and oh my gosh, they make it all easy for me.
Yeah, and it's been a lot of fun, and I think the streaks is part of what creates sort of the aura of the show, as Sue referenced, gives you somebody to root for or root against, depending on your perspective. So we've had a fun 3 weeks here at Rapids Bowling Center. We're not done yet. Exhibition competition between the Rapids and the Tonawanda Bowling Center is going to be next week's show before we move to Grand Island. So we will see you for that very special edition of Beat the Champ in 1 week. For Sue, for Janelle, we thank you for watching Beat the Champ.